Welcome, welcome. It's election day, and I figured I would jump on here just to offer some election day support and talk a little bit about social self-care. So tomorrow, if you're part of my newsletter, I will write more about social self-care. So if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, then you will get that delivered directly to your email inbox. But I wanted to talk about a few things today because the election feels very divisive, and it feels, like there's a lot of feelings going on. And so I just wanted to bring up a couple of things. One was, I don't know if you knew this or not, but last year the US Surgeon General wrote a 71-page advisory warning about an American epidemic of loneliness and isolation. And politics is just dividing us even further. And so, I think it's an important topic to talk about. I also see this happening in the way our kids interact. So I grew up as a latchkey kid. I walked to and from school. I came home. There was nobody home. I took care of myself until, my mother came home from working all day, and then we would have dinner together and things like that. But my kids have never experienced something like that. And actually, I have 3 kids, 1 in elementary school and 2 in high school. And my teenagers went to middle school during the pandemic. And it has had a lasting effect on their social life. I truly believe that. Spending almost a whole school year behind a tablet and not being able to make new friends and interact with friends whenever they wanted to has had this lasting effect. Also, then, of course, things like cell phones, laptops, social media, it's easier to get in contact with people, but it's actually creating, a lot more friction than you would think. So I joke with my kids, the way I knew, like, if somebody was home or not or if people were hanging out or not, was if you saw a bunch of bikes in front of somebody's house. And I said, when I wanted to go hang out with a friend, I had to walk to their house and knock on their door, or I had to call them on a landline and talk to their parents and say, hey, is Monica home? Can I talk to her? Do you want to play? Right? Our kids have never had these type of interactions, and it's showing, right? They're a lot more risk averse. I have some hope for the younger ones because my youngest is in elementary school. He's in 4th grade, and he's still being socially active, going to the park after school and those type of things. But as the incoming technology is coming in, right? He does not yet have a cell phone. We don't want him to get a cell phone because the impact of technology is something that I do worry about. Along those lines, I was recently talking to a dad whose son is at the same high school as my girls, and we were talking about homecoming here in the US. And at our high school, a couple of weeks ago was homecoming, where there's a big football game and then a homecoming dance, and the kids all get dressed up and go out to dinner and make a big to-do out of it. And it's a yearly tradition. That's a lot of fun, and we spend a lot of money on dresses and getting our hair done and things like that. But he mentioned that to get his son to ask out the girl that he wanted to go to homecoming with, both sets of parents had to get involved, right? He wanted to ask her, and she wanted him to ask her, but he was pretty risk averse. And so, like, the parents had to get involved and text each other and say, yeah, ask her, she wants to go. And, just kind of to nudge him because it felt the rejection felt unsafe. And I thought that was really interesting because that's part of growing up, is learning that rejection is okay. And, you actually don't die. It actually made me think about earlier in the year when I joined my business coaching group and I started my own business. My business coach asked me to post every day. So in the month of May, I had to post on LinkedIn, for 31 days in May. And the first few, probably 5 to 7 days, every time I was about to post something about my business, promoting myself, right? Promoting my services, self-promoting my business, I literally wanted to throw up. But I quickly learned through this 31-day challenge, after doing it 31 straight days, that nothing bad actually happens. Those feelings still come up sometimes where I'm like, oh, that post isn't going to be genius, but nobody's posts are going to be genius every day. Most of them are not going to be genius. But I think talking about important topics and letting people know about the type of services that I provide, coaching to help people recover from burnout, is really important. And I love seeing the results I see with my clients, right? I don't want people to suffer alone. And that's why I decided to do this full time. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? So young people are definitely struggling with isolation and loneliness, but I've heard a lot recently also about young men struggling, particularly with this, and just men in general, right? Men don't tend to, like women, gather in groups and talk about their feelings, right? And that's totally normal. Men tend to do more things around sports or things like that. Like my husband likes to go play disc golf. It's his time to rejuvenate in nature, have some fun with friends, be a little bit competitive, do some shit talking. Like that is his type of social self-care. And that's really important. And he prioritizes that. And I'm really proud of him the way he does that. I think it's harder as adults to be able to find your groups. I know for many years, my groups were at work. A lot of my identity was wrapped around my corporate career. And most of my friends were peers and people that I worked with in corporate or who had similar jobs. And so what made it really difficult then when leaving one role or one job to another is, you don't get to take those people with you. They're still your friends, but you no longer get to interact with them the way that you used to. And that can feel really isolating. By the way, I wanted to plug real quick here. I have a friend who is running a male support group. So I will add that in the comments. He's launched a group for older men who are transitioning and kind of need a men group for support. His name is Paul Travis. I think his group is called Authentimacy in the Brotherhood or something like that, but I'll add it in the links because I think it's really important for people to find their people. So I'll add that. But anyway, it made me think about today and how divisive the politics have become. And, if you're struggling with the outcome of today, or even just getting support today, if you don't have a great support system, if you don't have a lot of family around, if you don't have a significant other that you can lean on today, and maybe, you don't want to go to a psychologist, or maybe you do go to a psychologist, but they're helping you with past trauma and not future goals. I just want to inject some hope out there. A coach can be helpful, right? One of the things I work on with people is setting goals to reach what they want to reach. In most cases, it's getting out of burnout, but there's a huge social component to that as well. But this is not to talk about my business. This is about, finding your support system and your friend group. And it doesn't have to be complicated. So one of the things I love about the running community, if you've ever been a runner, is that anyone with shoes is welcome, right? You show up, it doesn't matter if you're fast or slow, you'll find somebody who's in your running range. And there's even a whole barefoot running community, even if you don't have shoes or you don't like to wear shoes. But, one of the things, I've seen a lot of things around the New York City Marathon, and it's always fun to be on the sidelines if you're not a runner, or even if you've run the race and then you stick around to cheer others on, is how supportive the running community is, because it's not competitive against each other. It's really self against self about becoming a better person. And so, running is a great way. I know when I first moved to Seattle, I did a bunch of 5K runs just to meet people. And it was nice because you would get all this energy from groups, and then you would stay after and kind of celebrate and talk to people. There would be beverages and bananas and snacks and things like that. So if you're able to run, that's a great way to find some community. I already mentioned, there's disc golf groups, there's meetups, there's things like that. It doesn't take a whole lot to find your social group, but you have to keep trying because, the first one may not be it and you may not like it. It makes me think of that quote from that Matt Damon movie, We Bought a Zoo. It's like, sometimes all you need is 20 seconds of insane courage. And that's really what it is about. Putting yourself out there, being a little bit vulnerable, because I know it feels really awkward as an adult saying, like, will you be my friend? And you don't have to be awkward and say, will you be my friend? You can text a friend or a coworker and say, what are you doing this weekend? Do you want to hang out? Or do you want to go for a walk? Or do you want to go meet up at a park? So, like 20 seconds of insane courage is helpful. The other one that I really love is Mel Robbins, if you're not familiar with her. She is a life coach and world-renowned speaker. And in her book, The 5-Second Rule, she talks about getting herself out of a really dark time in her life by using the 5-second rule, which is in your mind, just getting yourself ready, counting down like a rocket launch, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and just doing the thing. Like, don't overthink it. Send that text, ask somebody to spend some time with you, and see what comes out of it. The thing about doing something scary, even something silly, scary, like posting on LinkedIn, is that you survive it and then you build resilience. So if you're feeling lonely today, I encourage you to reach out to a family member, a friend, a neighbor. One of the things that I really like to think about when I'm like in a bad mental space or I'm feeling really anxious is something that one of my mentors used to say. I have a lot of mentors, so bear with me. It's all suffering is when you're focused on yourself. So the best way to get out of it is to do something nice for someone else. Do something nice for someone in your apartment building. Do something nice for someone in your neighborhood. Do something nice for someone at work. If you ever want to make friends at work, bring in donuts. That is an easy way to get people to, have a conversation. And if it's virtual, which a lot of us are working virtually these days, bring a game, bring an idea, bring something fun, bring an icebreaker. People do enjoy those things. And so by sharing a little bit more about yourself, you're actually able to build a little bit more community. So anyway, the whole point of this is if you get anything out of this live today, it's do something to connect with someone. Ask out the girl or ask out the guy. If they say no, get over it. Ask another one. Text a friend to say, hey, let's get together this weekend. Just put yourself out there, because loneliness isn't necessary. All it takes is a few seconds of bravery. And while the election and politics and social media and all the events in the world are trying to divide us, let's not let it. Let's extend some olive branches, because connection is also self-care, and it's really important. So again, like I mentioned, tomorrow I'll share more about social self-care and some very specific tips on how to do that. So if you are interested in that, sign up for the newsletter. But anyway, I hope you're taking good care of yourself today. And please, please remember that self-care isn't selfish, it's required. So with that, I'll leave you. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, and please take care of yourselves.